the thing is, we've done some research in our center, and folks self-select abstinent track or moderation track. And the self-selection appears to be what drives success, not which track you're on. So if people identify their goals, we help them reach those goals. But if your only goals are, or if your only allowable path is you must be abstinent, then you aren't taught any skills about how to drink a little bit. So when people who are on an abstinent-only sort of treatment programs have slips, they have big slips.
They just say, okay, I'm off the track.
Yeah.
Ooh, let's just pound it back and
There's that discounting. I've screwed up once, might as well just go for it. And there's also the piece about skills. They don't know how to drink 2 or 3 or 4 drinks if all they do is abstain.
Now, the common thought on genetics and addiction is that certain people have just a predisposition for alcoholism, for drug addiction. Mm-hmm. Is that a fact?
Yeah, there's an opioid receptor in the brain. I forget if it's the mu or the kappa, but one of the opioid receptors in the brain, there's one genetic sort of flavor you can have where alcohol is extra rewarding. Where it just you love that sensation, you love the feeling a little more than the average person might.
So, but is it just that? Is it just they love it more?
Well, it's more rewarding, and therefore learning is reinforced. I mean, rewarding meaning that what you find appetitive or interesting or yummy. If you find things extra yummy, then your behavior is modified to get more of that thing.
Right, but the way I've always thought of it, I don't have a genetic predisposition to alcoholism, and I've had friends who do.
Yeah.
And there's this weird thing that happens to them when you see them drink where they go gerbil eyes, where they're like, no one's there. They have shark eyes. Yeah. You know what I mean? While you're looking at them, you're like, where are you, man? Are you in there? Like, you literally don't see them anymore.
Well, these folks are probably, thoroughly into a hardcore drinking, lifestyle, right? This is not their first big slip in a long time. This is sort of go to the bar after work every day, or go to the liquor store and grab a half bottle of wine every day. This is, reinforced behavior. I don't think even someone with those genes would have sort of a checkout or some, lack of sudden self-control their first drink after abstaining for a while. It's the behavioral sort of slippery slope that we get on that causes the problem. Folks that have this extra rewarding effect from alcohol, get pulled down that slope faster, but it's still not, predetermined. You're not going to become an alcoholic just because you have a more rewarding effect from alcohol or something else.
See, I was always confused. I didn't think that it was a reward issue. I thought, but this is based entirely on, just talking to people. There's no research, obviously. But I always thought it was just something happens to them where they cannot help themselves. Is that just the common way of discussing it because of the 12-step treatment program ideal?
Yeah, I think partially there's this idea of, well, you're powerless over alcohol, therefore accept that you're powerless. But a lot of that powerlessness, or I can't control my behavior, is because of the sort of over-learning that comes where behavior is no longer choice. It's almost automatic because you've gotten so rewarded so many times from that behavior that then the behavior becomes reinforced. I mean, all addiction is this way, but all addiction is just learning. It's not some special form of learning. It's just learning. So what you're talking about is people that have learned to lose control.
So does that, there's the common thought about Native Americans, the common discussion when people talk about Native Americans and alcohol is that they didn't have alcohol in their diet. We introduced it to them, or the Europeans rather introduced it to them, and then they became almost instantly addicted because they did not have the genetic predisposition to process it.
Yeah, and
that's BS?
I think it's partially BS. I think it's more about, if you lock a bunch of people on a small plot of non-farmable land and don't give them any mechanisms for advancement and take away all their power and then give them a drug to abuse, they abuse it. There's always these studies showing that if you give a rat unfettered access to drugs and alcohol, it sits there and, hits the lever until it dies, right? That's actually not true. If you give a rat access to cocaine or alcohol, well, probably not alcohol, but something really rewarding, it will only self-administer the drug and sort of starve to death for the reward when the environment isn't interesting. And when the environment's impoverished. If there's lots of, rat toys and lots of other cute rats hanging out, they're much less interested in becoming cocaine addicts or whatever it is. It's only in the absence of stimulating, enriched environments do these sort of automatic behaviors take over. So I would argue, at least partially, the Native American alcohol connection is because These are people who are disenfranchised systematically and then given an escape.